Part 20. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Jeon. Chapter 191. Subway Line 1, a certain platform. Lin Xian was squatting on the ground, looking at the ground in front of him. 2 years ago, a maintenance worker of the subway station died here. Cause of death, sudden death after excessive shock. Can a living person really be scared to death? Not only can, let alone death from shock, there are also death from laughter and death from anger. When humans are subjected to extreme and unbearable stimulation, there is a small chance of death. This reason is mostly caused by adrenaline poisoning. The autopsy report at the time also gave this answer. The worker experienced intense stimulation, and the body secreted a large amount of adrenaline, causing a violent heartbeat and muscle twitching. Eventually, the myocardium was torn and died. As for why the worker was overly frightened, the surveillance video has given the answer. Damn it! The worker was maintaining and repairing the subway and saw a ghost appear in the subway tunnel. The worker was frightened and collapsed on the ground, and the ghost appeared in front of him like teleportation. Then the worker convulsed all over, foamed at the mouth, and died as if he had epilepsy. The worker was scared to death, and the ghost disappeared. Ghost your sister, Lin Xian sneered. Since the first magic was cracked, these 3 related cases have shown that there can be no ghosts. He has not figured out a way to crack the Ouija case for the time being, but this ghost case in front of him. Lin Xian looked up, looked at the subway tunnel again, and jumped down. Walked to the place where the ghost appeared for the first time in the video. Slowly squatted down and carefully observed the ground. After observing for 5 or 6 minutes, there was nothing. This result is normal, after all, it happened 2 years ago. As long as the murderer is not mentally retarded, even if he did something, all traces will be cleared. The reason why Lin Xian came to check was to take a look. Is there any way to create a ghost in the subway tunnel? Can the ghost be teleported 4 or 5 meters away in an instant? This is the investigation. All the details of the victim's death must be found out. But after rebirth, Lin Xian thought his body was abnormal enough. Especially the speed, which was comparable to a cheetah running. No matter how fast he was, it was impossible to teleport. Because that was no longer human power, let alone the ability of wild beasts. That was the legendary power of ghosts and gods. Since Lin Xian did not believe that there were ghosts in this world, he could not believe that such an ability would appear. As a reborn person, he thought of something that could do something similar to a ghost. Aerial imaging. This is a method of using optical principles to project the real 3-dimensional image of an object into the air. But the problem came again. This aerial imaging technology, even in 2024, the year he died, it has not really come out. But there are many similar projection technologies that are thousands of miles apart. Even some projections can achieve similar aerial imaging. The premise is that this projection needs to be irradiated on an object to appear. But where is the place to project in the subway tunnel? And how can the projection be reflected in the form of a ghost? It is simply impossible to accomplish. Another magic, Lin Xian murmured. Those who really understand magic know that this is a trick that can produce special visual effects. Some powerful magic tricks are based on scientific principles and use special props. They cleverly achieve visual communication and deceive people's eyes. The aspects involved in magic are even more varied. For example, chemistry, mathematics, psychology, props, physics, performance. How did they do it? Lin Xian racked his brains, but still couldn't figure out the principle that could make ghosts appear. Finally, he asked the team members to find a projector. Do the experiment. When the projector was turned on and shown on the wall, no. And there was only a beam of light shining on the air, and there was no effect. It can't be done at all, Lin Xian was a little unconfident. Isn't it a projection? Just as he was about to put down the projector, the beam of light accidentally passed by a place. Suddenly, Lin Xian's eyes froze and his expression was dull. In an instant, his eyes lit up. At this time, the beam of the projector was shining on a transparent indicator board. There were 4 words written on the indicator board: emergency exit. A strange scene appeared. The projector shone on the transparent indicator board, and an image appeared. "Go find a piece of transparent glass," Lin Xian said to the team members. The team members were a little confused, but they still found a piece of glass. When Lin Xian shone the projection beam on the glass, he was stunned. Because there was no image, the projection beam also penetrated through. The indicator board is also transparent, why can it be? Lin Xian frowned to himself, looked at the emergency exit indicator board, and thought for a while, go find some colored glass. Soon, the team members found all kinds of glass, such as brown, blue, and black. None of them worked, and none of them could form an image. Lin Xian asked the team members to take down the indicator board, and then searched the internet for the material of the indicator board, and then analyzed the principle of projection imaging. Polyester or fiber. Lin Xian read the words line by line: curtain. Only then did he discover that there was a layer of transparent coating on the indicator board, a fiber film. When the fiber film covers the indicator board, the projection beam can be imaged. It is transparent and can form an image. It is difficult for the human eye to detect the fiber coating. Go find out if there is a fiber membrane. Lin Xian asked the team members to find the fiber membrane and continue the experiment. 1 hour later, several transparent fiber membranes were found. Everyone pasted it on the transparent glass. When Lin Xian took the projector and shone it again, hiss, a burst of gasps sounded. The glass with the fiber membrane actually had an image. Because the glass and the fiber membrane are both transparent, the image actually formed an aerial image. But this aerial image is achieved through glass and fiber membrane, and many people understand this principle. But they are police officers, and they have no knowledge of this kind of thing in the past. It's done. Lin Xian was surprised and told Zhang Xiaoyang, make a green human figure, and make it look like the ghost in the surveillance video. Zhang Xiaoyang finished it in a few minutes, and then connected the laptop to the projector. Then play it through the projector and shine it on the glass with the fiber membrane. Suddenly, a green ghost appeared. As for how the ghost teleportation was done, Lin Xian asked the team members to stick a fiber film on the other glass. Put the 2 pieces of glass 5 meters apart. Lin Xian first shone the projection beam on one of the pieces. The ghost appeared. Turn off the projector in an instant. The ghost disappeared. Lin Xian turned around and turned on the projector. Shine on the other piece of glass. Ghost teleportation, completed. At this point, another magic involved in the case was cracked. Lin Xian has now confirmed the identity of the murderer. A magician, or several magicians. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 192. The team members began to investigate. The target is magicians and people who are good at and love magic. At this time, Lin Xian, Guosu, and Zhang Xiaoyang were gathered around a small table. There is a bowl upside down on the table. They were all looking at the dishes intently, thinking about how to make them levitate. Nowadays, everyone knows a little bit about magic and has also checked it online. There are 3 principles of levitation magic: specific props, visual illusions, and psychological suggestions. Lin Xian was holding his mobile phone, and a video was playing on the mobile phone. Surveillance video of the Dazian case. He also discovered something strange through the case files. The dishes involved in the case are missing. But it was observed through surveillance video. At that time, a girl was killed and other young people fled in panic. The dish ferry table was kicked over, the dishes fell down, and fell into the subway tunnel. Lin Xian suspected that there must be something wrong with the dishes used by the 6 young men playing the Dishian game. It should be a magic prop. So how do you make a dish float, or float on 6 fingers? Through the understanding of magic, many methods have been discovered. For example, at this time, Zhan Xiaoyang took out a spring as thick as a mineral water bottle. He put the spring on the table and put the dishes on it. The 3 fingers also pressed it up, and then slowly lifted it up. The dishes floated up as the 3 people raised their fingers. The dishes were vibrating due to the uneven force exerted on the 3 people's fingers. It looks like it's floating, but it's actually held up by springs. It seems that the dishes are indeed props, and it should be based on the principle in front of you. Guo Su sneered, it's just that the secret is hidden in the dishes and can't be seen from the outside. Lin Xian nodded. The dishes have a mechanism. When the mechanism is turned on, the spring will spring up and lift everyone's fingers. Turn off the switch, retract the spring, and let the dishes fall. Who knew about this agency at that time, activated it, and closed it again? The girl who was killed. Do you still remember the confessions of the young people involved? They said that the person who suggested coming to the subway station to play with Disc Fairy was the girl who was killed. Why did you propose to come here to play Dice Yen, and why was she the one who died? A closer look reveals that there are too many doubts about the murdered girl. And now, there is one last question left. What method should be used, in full view of the public? Break a person's neck without being noticed by the people next to you. Lin Xian and others were a little confused. But this is magic. The magician is doing tricks right under your nose, but you just can't see the flaws. Lin Xian took out his mobile phone again and clicked on the surveillance video. Observe the location of the girl who was killed at that time. Close to the subway tunnel. Sit here. Lin Xian asked Zhan Xiaoyang to sit on the edge of the subway tunnel. He jumped down the subway tunnel by himself. Squatting on the ground and studying how to break Zhan Xiaoyang's neck without being noticed. For a full hour, Zhan Xiaoyang sat still a little impatient. Understood. Lin Xian stood up, his face gloomy and cold. Guo Su? Zhan Xiaoyang? The murdered girl had long hair. Lin Xian said this. Guo Su he Zhan Xiaoyang, Omega. Does she have long hair and what does it have to do with breaking someone's neck? I remember a case. Lin Xian explained, a woman was working in a factory and an accident happened. Her hair was stirred into the machine. The machine was protected by a protective cover. The woman's back was to the machine and her body was leaning against the protective cover. The machine pulled her instantly. The neck is broken. The expressions of Guo Su and Zhan Xiaoyang changed. At this time, Lin Xian slowly squatted down, stretched out a palm and pressed it on Zhan Xiaoyang's back, supporting Zhan Xiaoyang's body. Because of Zhan Xiaoyang's physical obstruction, Lin Xian's palms and arms could not be seen from other angles. Then, Lin Xian stretched out his other hand and made a grabbing motion in the air. Guo Su stared at this scene. I knew that Lin Xian was simulating the action of grabbing his hair. Then I saw him pull down quickly. Guo Su's expression froze and his pupils shrank a few times. Wrong. Lin Xian stood up and shook his head. The principle is probably like this, but ordinary people's strength cannot break a person's neck. At that time, the murderer should have used some auxiliary tools to use the girl's body to block other people's sight and monitoring the perspective, and then erupting with a terrifying force in an instant. It is possible to break a person's neck. He picked up his phone again and watched the surveillance video. At that time, the girl's head was indeed tilted back. And extremely fast. Almost instantly, the back of her head was pressed against his back. Sometimes speed means power. For example, if you pick up a 50-pound object, it will be very laborious and reluctant. but when you punch quickly, you can punch 100 pounds of force. When speed is combined with strength, more terrifying power can be unleashed. The faster the speed, the greater the power. In the video, the girl's head instantly tilted back, with that kind of speed accompanied by power. The superimposed forces will erupt and break a person's neck. The magic of the dish fairy case is cracked. What a terrible killing magic! Who would have thought? When magic is used to commit crimes, it can be so terrifying. It's so scary that if you don't crack it, you'll think it's a ghost. Because that kind of killing method is too bizarre and very strange. Even if the killing magic is cracked, it will still make you shudder. When magic kills people, it is so scary that there is no friend. Zhang Xiaoyang was still in shock. Guo Su also nodded. It's not the magic that is scary, it's the magician. Lin Xian said in a deep voice, medicine, weapons, and the magic in front of us are all double-edged swords. It depends on who masters it. Medicine can save people, but it can also kill people. Weapons are even more terrifying. It can defend the country, but it can also launch invasions and even destroy the earth. When people think that magic is just a performance for entertainment, it appears in another form. Its horror and weirdness are truly revealed. It simply subverts the imagination of ordinary people. This world is so scary. Sure enough, only the Sisters 36D can bring me warmth. Lin Xian took a deep breath and spit it out fiercely, his expression as cold as ice. Now go find these damn magicians. How to find? These people may be professional in playing magic. But when it comes to criminal investigation, these policemen are professionals. Since they have already identified who the other party is and the suspect group. The magician's circle is also there. Magic is also a kind of thing that has inheritance and factions. It is impossible for one person to figure it out by just thinking about it casually. It's like asking a person who knows nothing to be a policeman. Can he do this job? Don't be funny. Then what is the point of the police academy, and why do we need the seniors to impart experience? So a powerful magician can't appear out of thin air. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 193. International Magicians Association. An association founded in July 1968 by a group of professional magicians. The purpose of this organization is to promote the art of magic and spread it around the world. At the same time, share the fun of magic with magic lovers all over the world. H City, Magicians Association Branch. Lin Xian glanced at the business building in front of him and walked in. After investigation by the team members, there are 437 registered professional magicians in H City. There are as many as 3,433 registered magic lovers in this branch. Office of the Branch President. When Lin Xian walked in, an old man was standing up with a smile. I'm going to bother you again, Lin Xian said with a smile. Last time, the branch president also invited a magic master to help him solve the case. It was also the magic master who told Lin Xian that the strange dismemberment case could be explained by magic. You're welcome. The old man smiled. It is the duty of every citizen to cooperate with the police. It's a pity that this old man doesn't go to the officialdom, Lin Xian smiled. What do you want to check this time? The old man got straight to the point. I want to see the information of all the magicians in the association. Lin Xian looked directly at the old man's slightly changed face. Is it convenient? The old man was silent for a while. Sure. Not long after, the secretary brought a laptop. The old man entered a password and entered the association's database. It was full of files of some magicians, magic they were good at, types, levels. The reason for these records is that the Magicians Association will undertake some business performances. Some commercial performances will be arranged for magicians to earn remuneration. Love for magic can't be a meal. The magic business is very expensive. The larger, more magical, and more incredible the magic, the more expensive the props used. In a word, no money, no magic. When the old man handed over the laptop, Lin Xian didn't hesitate to check it out. Half an hour later, Lin Xian put down the computer. He asked a question: are there other special magicians and secret files? Lin Xian looked directly into the old man's eyes, while also monitoring the old man's heartbeat. Where there is light in the world, there will be darkness. Let alone the Magicians Association. Everyone has their own secrets, secrets that are unknown to others. No exceptions. For example, Lin Xian himself. Reborn, browser, computer hard drive, Mu Qingtian dares to eat children, Mu Qingjian likes to breastfeed. These are Lin Xian's secrets, secrets that he will never tell to outsiders. In this world, it is impossible for someone to have no secrets in his heart. The old man's face changed. His pupils and heartbeat changed, but he pretended to be calm. I am not interested in the secrets of your Magicians Association. Lin Xian stared at the old man. I'm looking for one or several people, understand? The old man was silent. He knew very well that the people the police were looking for should be some criminals. He hesitated for a while. The old man got up, walked to the bookshelf in the office and picked up a book. In an instant, the bookshelf slowly opened, revealing a wall behind. There was also a safe embedded in the wall. After entering a few passwords, the safe dinged and popped open. The old man took out a craft paper file bag from it. Walked to Lin Xian and handed it over. He took the file bag and opened it. It contained some 4 file papers. Or 6 bound files. Each file represented a member. Core members of the International Magicians Association. The number of members of the International Magicians Association has long exceeded 37,000. But there are less than 200 real core members in the world. In Dragon Country, there are only 6 people, including the old man in front of him. This is also the ultimate purpose of Lin Xian's visit. A secret that even Zhang Xiaoyang couldn't find out. Because people with a little IQ know that some secrets should never be placed in places that can be connected to the internet. On the contrary, the more primitive the method, the safer it will be to hide the secret. Information of 6 people. 2 old men, 3 middle-aged people, and 1 young and middle-aged person. Lin Xian frowned after reading the 6 files. According to the information, these 6 people are good at magic. But the magic that 5 of them are good at is traditional. For example, card magic, resurrection, animal training, underwater escape, etc. But the suspect that Lin Xian is looking for can be said to be a magician of the new school, good at technology magic. For example, using monitors to deceive, creating ghosts, these are all technology magic. There is also a great discord between traditional magicians and new magicians, and they look down on each other. Traditional magicians think that new magicians have forgotten their roots. New magicians think that traditional magicians can't keep up with the times. There was once a war between the traditional and the new school that shocked the magic world. The branch president in front of him, an old man, and 3 middle-aged people, are all traditional magicians. Only the young and middle-aged man is a new magician. After reading the information of the young and middle-aged magician, Lin Xian put down the file and handed it to the old man. In addition to the 6 documents in front of him, representing the 6 people, there are still hundreds of magicians who need to wait for them to check one by one. By the way, Lin Xian asked, has there been any anomalies in the Magicians Association recently? Anomalies? The old man was stunned. Except for some exchange activities, nothing has happened. Exchange activities? Lin Xian was surprised. What exchanges? Some foreign magicians come to the branch every year. The old man smiled and said, exchange magic with local magicians. Every year. Lin Xian frowned, is it this time every year? Yes. The old man nodded, every time I come, I will stay in H city for a month. 1 month, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Thinking of the time when 3 cases occurred in the cases he was investigating. For 3 consecutive years, they all happened in June. It just so happened that it was also the time when foreign magicians came to H city for exchanges. What a coincidence, Lin Xian's mind entered the analytical state. Could it be them? The possibility is not high. For example, the people of Longguo hate the Jingguo god toilet. Even if you go to Sakura country and know that there is such a place, are you familiar with the inside? A group of foreigners, will they be familiar with H City's subway line 1? Unless, Lin Xian's eyes lit up. A local led them to commit the crime. But these are all assumptions and conjectures. Right now, in his eyes, all magicians are suspects. Who is responsible for entertaining these foreign magicians? Lin Xian continued to ask. Didn't you just look at the information? The old man raised his hand and shook the file bag, it's Xiao Wu and his friends. Xiao Wu is the young and middle-aged magician, a new school magician. Wu Qigong, male, 31 years old, from H City. The other party's information emerged in Lin Xian's mind. Decided to check it first. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Qixiun Zhong. Chapter 194. H City, Yaiwan Street. In a villa area. Are all magicians so wealthy? Lin Xian looked at the villa in front of him. This is the residence where the Magicians Association hosts foreign magicians. Just as Lin Xian walked to the door of the villa's courtyard, suddenly, a trace of doubt appeared on his face. He noticed that 2 eyes in the villa fell on him. One line of sight came from the courtyard, and the other line of sight came from the 2nd floor of the villa. These 2 gazes were very cold, and could be described as sharp as a knife. Lin Xian frowned and pressed the doorbell. After a few seconds, the courtyard door opened. A white man stood at the door and looked at him coldly. Foreign soldiers, Lin Xian's pupils shrank. You can clearly detect the military spirit of the other party. But the temperament of the Long Kingdom soldiers is very different. Judging by his age, he was about 35 years old. Most likely they are retired soldiers, bodyguards. If you are an active soldier, you will not be able to come to Long Country without permission. The visa will be stuck. Guo Su, who had been following Lin Xian, took a step forward. Staring at the white man, his eyes gradually became cold. When the white man saw Guo Su, his face showed solemnity. At this moment, a young and middle-aged man came out of the villa. Who are you looking for? The man frowned and looked at Lin Xian and Guo Su. Police. Lin Xian took out his police card and looked at the man in front of him with a strange look in his eyes. Wu Qigong. This man is exactly the magician he is looking for. Huh, Wu Qigong was stunned for a moment. There is a case that I would like to ask you to cooperate with in the investigation. Lin Xian put away his police officer ID card. Is it convenient? This. Wu Qigong hesitated a little, nodded, and walked out of the villa. Lin Xian took out his mobile phone, pulled out a video and handed it to Wu Qigong. What's this? Wu Qigong was confused, took the phone, and watched the video above a few times. Sudden. His expression changed. Because that video was the surveillance video of the strange mutilation case. Lin Xian was observing the other person's expression and monitoring his heartbeat. A few seconds later. It shouldn't be him, Lin Xian frowned. Wu Qigong's expression was frightened, but his demeanor was normal. Because that's what people do when they see horrible things. From Wu Qigong's shocked look, It can be seen that this was the first time he saw the scene of mutilated corpses. This shows that this case most likely has nothing to do with him. It wouldn't be like this if he was involved. Horror film. After watching the video, Wu Qigong looked confused and puzzled, and handed back the phone. No, it's a case related to magic. Lin Xian asked, it is said that you are a new school magician who is good at technological magic. Can you tell anything? Magic? Wu Qigong was a little stunned. Magic kills people. Right. Lin Xian nodded, it should be a technological magic. The other party hijacked the surveillance lines and used surveillance cameras to forge surveillance images. By the way, this person seems to be very good at making ghosts and can make ghost images. Ghost? Wu Qigong's expression changed. Huh? Lin Xian stared into his eyes, do you know someone who can perform ghost magic? This. Wu Qigong looked hesitant and nodded, I saw this kind of performance once abroad. A magician performed a magic trick in front of countless audiences, making a ghost appear in front of the audience. It was lifelike. Ghost? Lin Xian continued to ask, what kind of ghost? The white one is very similar to the white-clothed female ghost in our dragon kingdom. Wu Qigong recalled it and shook his head, it took too long and I can't remember some of it clearly. Are many people abroad capable of such magic? Lin Xian asked, are there any magicians in China? I have never heard of it in China, and this kind of ghost magic is a magician's secret and will not be spread to outsiders. Wu Qigong smiled and said, would you tell others about your cooking skills? So, this magic can only be done by foreigners. Lin Xian blinked, I heard that you are hosting foreign magicians, can I go and meet them? Wu Qigong frowned, that's not good. After all, we are foreign guests and it's against the rules. Some people knelt for so long that they couldn't stand up. Lin Xian smiled half-heartedly, this is the Dragon Kingdom, and the rules of the Dragon Kingdom are the rules. Wu Qigong's face turned red instantly. I understood Lin Xian's sarcasm. But Wu Qigong still shook his head, this is not good. Do you want me to get a warrant out for your arrest? Lin Xian put away his smile and looked at him coldly. Wu Qigong's expression changed instantly, he was frightened. He had no choice but to lead Lin Xian and Guo Su towards the courtyard of the villa. Who knows? The white man suddenly stood in front of them and pointed a finger at them, no. No, you are paralyzed, Lin Xian is happy. I ignored him and walked out of the villa in the courtyard. As a result, the white man suddenly stretched out his hand and pushed towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian didn't seem to see the hand and continued to move forward. But beside him, a hand stretched out. Snap, he grabbed the white man's wrist and flicked his arm. A huge force threw the white man aside. Don't commit suicide. And Guo Su retracted his hand and looked at the white man coldly, this is Longguo, you have to speak Chinese. The white man stared at Guo Su with fear. I don't know if he understood Guo Su's words or was afraid of Guo Su's skills. Lin Xian came to the door of the villa and pushed it open. When the door just opened, suddenly, a big foot wearing leather shoes kicked in front of him. In an instant, the movement of the world slowed down. Lin Xian looked at the slowly kicking foot in front of him calmly, and raised his thigh. Like a battle axe, from bottom to top. Bang, crack. Not only kicked the opponent's thigh away, but also broke the opponent's calf. The owner of the thigh was kicked away by Lin Xian. With a bang, he fell into the living room of the villa. This man is also a white man. The left calf is twisted strangely, screaming. Isn't Lin Xian worried about something happening? What was he worried about? Did the foreigner have a dick? Did he attack the police? If he was abroad, he would have emptied the magazine. Let alone breaking the other's leg. What if he kicked him to death? This is Dragon Country. Lin Xian ignored the white man with a broken leg and screamed, walked into the living room, and looked at the sofa in the living room. He saw 3 Chinese people and 7 or 8 foreigners. At this time, they all looked at Lin Xian in astonishment, and were stunned by the scene in front of them. Police. Lin Xian showed his police ID and looked around at everyone present. Please cooperate, huh? Before he finished speaking, his eyelids twitched. He sensed a sense of danger. But this sense of danger was very slight and should not pose a threat to his life. What? Lin Xian turned his head and looked in the direction of the second floor. But he found an object flying in the air. Poker cards. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 195. Lin Xian looked at the playing card calmly. Due to vision, thinking, reactions, and abnormal physical abilities, this playing card flew very slowly in his eyes. It spun, flew slowly in front of him, and sliced towards his handsome cheek. That's right, cut it. Although playing cards are paper products, many people may have had the experience of being scratched by paper. Poker cards can actually be used as weapons at certain times. When playing cards fly fast enough and powerful enough. Not to mention human skin, even cans can be cut open. It can even be inserted into wooden boards. What's wrong with my face? Why do you want to disfigure me? A biting cold light flashed in Lin Xian's eyes. Raise your hand. Snapped. The middle finger and index finger plucked the playing cards from the air like picking flowers. In an instant, Lin Xian flicked his wrist. The terrifying power completely exploded at this moment. An afterimage flew through the air, like a bolt of lightning, flying over the face of someone standing on the second floor. That face is very handsome, but it is handsome in European and American style, giving people the feeling of Prince Charming. He was about 26 or 7 years old, and he exuded an elegant and proud temperament. His face was handsome and deep, but his eyes were shining with astonishment at this moment. Sudden. The handsome left cheek of the white young man opened his mouth like a baby. Blood flowed out. It instantly flowed onto that luxurious outfit. Facing this scene, everyone was stunned. Even the young white man himself seemed to be in disbelief. He slowly reached out and touched his face covered with blood. Moment. The white youth's face showed a kind of morbid madness. A pair of sky blue eyes, flashing with wild light. The corners of his mouth began to twist, as if he wanted to release all the madness and anger in his heart. At this moment, the white young man was like a wild beast with red eyes and entering a state of madness. The pride and elegance are gone. Kill him. The white young man roared wildly, in English. The 2 tall figures standing behind him were motionless, with complicated expressions. They also exude a military spirit. But it was different from Lin Xian seeing the 2 white men. It actually gave him a trace of fear. This kind of fear, although not as strong as when facing Guo Su and Lao Wu. But, the king of soldiers. Lin Xian looked at the 2 white men coldly. The king of soldiers serves as a bodyguard? At this moment, any fool can see that this white young man is not simple, he is not rich but noble. Otherwise, why are his bodyguards soldiers and why are there 2 foreign military kings? Can't you hear me? The young white man looked ferociously at the 2 white men beside him. Don't be impulsive. A white man frowned and said in English, this is a dragon country, not a country where the sun never sets. The white young man's expression froze. Gradually, the morbid madness on his face disappeared, and he regained his arrogance and elegance. Even his eyes became calm and he looked at Lin Xian. Suddenly, a strange smile appeared. It made Lin Xian feel like he was being targeted by a poisonous snake. At this moment, there was a noise outside the villa, and some people walked in. These guys were wearing shirts, or executive jackets. What are you doing? When the leading middle-aged man saw Lin Xian and Guo Su, his face was full of anger, Who let you in? Lin Xian looked at the middle-aged man expressionlessly. Who are you? Who I am. The middle-aged man took a look at the administrative jackets worn by Lin Xian and Guo Su, and sneered, find your leader, I want to see who dares to be so lawless. Our leaders, Lin Xian and Guo Su looked at each other and almost laughed. Is this person crazy? Should we call Lu Yan, the deputy secretary of the department, or the minister? Lin Xian looked at the middle-aged man for a long time and said one word lightly. Roll. Everyone was stunned. He stared blankly at Lin Xian, a tall and handsome young man. It's like looking at a madman, a psychopath. The middle-aged man came back to his senses, laughed angrily, and nodded with a smile. Okay, you are a policeman, right? One of Lao Qian's men, right? Well, I would like to ask Lao Qian, who is he, how do you lead your troops? Lin Xian stopped talking. It's not that he's afraid. But if the other party just left, forget about it. But, why do you want to commit suicide? The middle-aged man took out his mobile phone, flipped through the phone book, and pressed the dial button. When he put the phone to his ear, he was still looking at Lin Xian with a grin. When the phone was connected, he deliberately turned it on speakerphone. The middle-aged man said quickly, Old Qian, I am Yang Wei. Your people are really powerful now. They actually pointed at my nose and told me to get out. Do you have to give me an explanation? By the way, your people are now it also hurt foreign customers. I want to see how your public security system ends up. The other party was silent for a while. My man? Police. What is his name? Yes, your people. The middle-aged man looked at Lin Xian with a sneer. You are your name, and your position. Ministry of Public Security, leader of the Special Criminal Case Team. Lin Xian said calmly, Lin Xian. Did you hear that? The middle-aged man didn't know whether he was furious or didn't think about Lin Xian's words carefully. He shouted into the phone, he is from the Ministry of Public Security. What is the Special Criminal Case Team? Before he finished speaking, he paused. The middle-aged man was stunned and his expression became dull. His phone was silent for a while, and then he heard a laugh. Comrade Lin Xian, I'm so sorry, our people have delayed your investigation. You're polite. Lin Xian's voice was indifferent. Please tell me, who is this official named Yang Wei? The phone was silent for a while again. H City Municipal Party Committee, Secretary General. H City is a provincial capital. The Secretary General is mostly a senior director, and normally a deputy director. I remember what you said just now. Lin Xian looked at the middle-aged man whose face had already turned pale and bloodless at this time. I will tell your words to the minister truthfully. You said he is lawless. The middle-aged man's body shook. He almost collapsed. Lin Xian was too lazy to look at the middle-aged man. Turning to look at the white youth, he pointed at the white bodyguard standing at the door and the white bodyguard with a broken leg. Your people, right? Do you know what assaulting a police officer is? Now I am summoning you verbally as a Longguo police officer. Please cooperate with the investigation. If you dare to resist, no matter who you are or what your identity is, I will beat the shit out of you. Do you understand? It doesn't matter whether you understand or not. Guo Su took out a pair of handcuffs and walked forward, standing in front of the white youth. The white youth didn't even look at Guo Su. His eyes were always staring at Lin Xian. Suddenly, he said something in a weird Chinese accent. You will regret it. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 196. Outside the hospital. Lin Xian was holding up his cell phone, answering Lu Yan's call. Tony Hassani, born in 1941, is the president of the International Magicians Association. He has traveled around the world and was entertained by kings and dignitaries of various countries at that time. Because he is a magic genius and a magic master recognized by the world as the top. When a person stands on the pyramid, he will inevitably be sought after by thousands of people, just like you, the youngest police king in Longwo now. It is precisely because Tony Hassani is recognized by the world as a top magic master, recognized by various countries, and also recognized by the British royal family. He was awarded the title of Baron, a true nobleman of the British royal family, and it is a hereditary title. Tony Hassani was awarded the title as a civilian and was deeply loved by the British royal family. The Queen loves him. Since he came to Dragon Country, Tony Hassani has visited Dragon Country once a year. Later, due to health problems, his son also visited Dragon Country many times on behalf of the International Magicians Association and his father. 3 years ago, Tony Hassani's grandson, Jack Hassani, began to visit Dragon Country on behalf of the family and the International Magicians Association. Jack Hassani is also the white youth you are about to interrogate. He was also knighted by the Queen, Baronet, which is a title second only to Baron. Lu Yan asked in a deep voice, "Do you understand what I mean?" "I understand a doctor," Lin Xian complained in his heart, and a look of realization appeared on his face. No wonder this Jack Hassani has retired soldiers as bodyguards. There are also 2 soldiers as bodyguards. It turned out to be a noble of the Sun Never Sets country. There is one more thing. This Jack actually wanted to destroy his face? To be honest, Lin Xian was also quite confused at the time. He vaguely guessed a possibility: jealousy. Everyone is jealous. Jack has a nice face. The problem is, Lin Xian's face is much better than his. Jealousy can make a person unrecognizable and malicious. So this Baron Jack was jealous at the time. In the end, he hurt himself instead of others. Lu Yan's words are also very clear. This International Magicians Association has some origin with Longguo. If there is no big problem, don't make it difficult. I think it's not Lu Yan's intention, it should be the intention of the higher UPS. I have found some clues in the case, and the 3 videos have also been cracked. Lin Xian said in a cold tone, "It should be done by a magician." Lu Yan waited for the subordinate's next words. Since Jack visited Longguo, 3 cases have occurred in 3 consecutive years. Lin Xian continued, "Isn't it too coincidental? One of the 3 cases is a ghost case. I learned from a magician that he had seen this kind of ghost magic abroad, but it has not appeared in China. It means that the perpetrator is most likely a foreign magician. There is another key point." Lin Xian said coldly, 3 strange cases have occurred in 3 consecutive years, all of which involve magic. They are all in June every year, when the International Magicians Association visits Longguo. Lu Yan stopped talking. They are all criminal investigators. Doesn't she know that there are no coincidences in this world? It can be said that the International Magicians Association led by Jack is very likely to be the suspect. For a long while. Is there enough time? Lu Yan asked. She asked about the time to investigate Jack and others. Because the people of the International Magicians Association are about to leave Longguo. It should be enough. Lin Xian looked strange. I feel that this little baron should not leave so early. Why? 1. Jealousy. Generally, people with strong jealousy are very narrow-minded. Revenge for the slightest grievance. 2. What Jack said to him, "You will regret it." The meaning of this sentence is also very clear. Jack was disfigured by Lin Xian, and he must take revenge. Just like Lin Xian himself, he usually takes revenge on the spot. Never overnight, and never wait. Like justice may be late, but it will never be absent, this nonsense. Lin Xian sneered. If it is justice, Why should it be late? Is there any meaning in milking after the child dies? Pay attention to the degree. Lu Yan reminded again, if you want to investigate, do your best to investigate. Understood. Lin Xian ended the call. Lu Yan was warning him, don't give the other party a chance to bite back. After all, he is a baronet of the country where the sun never sets. A special and luxurious ward. Jack, with gauze wrapped on his face, looked coldly at Lin Xian who walked in. A trace of ferocity and madness flashed in his eyes, but he calmed down in an instant. There is a case, please cooperate with the investigation now. Lin Xian took out a tablet and woke it up. The tablet was playing the surveillance video involved in the case. When Jack saw the surveillance video, he was stunned at first. The next second, his face, the skin outside the gauze. It actually showed a sick flush, and his eyes also flashed with a strange luster. But Jack's pupils and heart did not change at all. Isn't it him? Lin Xian frowned. No matter how strong the psychological quality of a normal person is. If this case was committed by him, facing the police, facing the bad things he had done, there will definitely be abnormal behavior, not so calm. For example, pupil changes and heartbeats. The Jack in front of him only has abnormal skin color and eyes. It feels like a pervert. But it doesn't look like he has killed someone or done something bad. Is it really not him? Lin Xian inexplicably felt that this person was very wrong. As for what was wrong, he needed to continue to check. Thank you for your cooperation. Lin Xian put away the tablet and turned to walk out of the ward. But he could feel that Jack's eyes behind him became resentful, crazy, and hideous. He also felt a strong, killing intent. Lin Xian didn't care. It's normal for the other party to behave like this. If you can still remain calm when you see the enemy who disfigured you, that would be abnormal. Walk out of the hospital. Lin Xian got into a police car. Guo Su started the police car and drove out of the parking lot. After the vehicle drove for a few minutes, Lin Xian, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. He felt a little uneasy and sensed danger. The sudden danger was divided into three directions: in front, behind, and far away. Not only did Lin Xian find something unusual, even Guo Su, who was driving, also noticed something unusual. Beings like them have much stronger perception than ordinary people. The two looked at each other and showed contemptuous sneers on their faces. However, the next moment, the sneers on their faces froze. In the distance, on the opposite road, a truck accelerated crazily, ran through a red light, and changed lanes. It rushed towards their police car. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 197. The flow of time slowed down. In Lin Xian's vision, the world seemed to be becoming sticky and stuck. He looked at the big truck that hit him with cold eyes. Lin Xian's super eyesight allowed him to clearly see that the driver was a black man. He had a ferocious look on his face and his eyes flashed with murderous intent. At the same time, Lin Xian also spotted a car rushing behind the police car and accelerated wildly. Attack from front and back. I'm sure this wasn't an accident. Someone wants to kill him. Who? Lin Xian looked disdainful. Is it the baronet? This revenge comes so quickly. Guo Su reacted very quickly while driving. He grabbed the car door handle with one hand and Lin Xian with the other. But Lin Xian didn't need his help. In an instant, Lin Xian stood up and grabbed Guo Su's stretched out wrist. Ejected into the air. Boom. The car door next to him opened in an instant. While flying out of the car, he pulled Guo Su out of the police car. Being in the air, Lin Xian watched as two cars, one in front and one behind, were attacking the police car. He took out his sidearm, opened the safety, and pulled the bolt with one hand. The bullet in the magazine has slipped into the gun's chamber. Bang bang, 2 shots. A bullet was fired at the black driver of the truck. A bullet was fired at the car behind the police car. 2 bullets penetrated the windshield and hit the 2 drivers between their eyebrows. Lin Xian and Guo Su also fell on the green belt beside the road. There was a bang. A large truck and car crashed into the police car. The police car was instantly crushed into scrap metal and squeezed into a discus. Lin Xian looked at the scene in front of him with an indifferent expression. Guo Su also jumped up from the green belt before he could draw his gun. Lin Xian lightly kicked him and sent him flying. Guo Su. Boom. In the distance, a sniper rifle roared from a certain building. A bullet flew past where Guo Su was just now and hit the ground. In an instant, a crater was created. The ground cracked and the cement was lifted. Damn it, Guo Su cursed. Lin Xian glanced coldly at the building 200 meters away. He swooped and appeared in front of the car behind the police car. At this time, the 2 rear doors of the car had opened, and 2 men with guns rushed out. Both of them held submachine guns in their hands, and both of them were yellow-skinned. But the face shape and body look a bit weird compared to the people from the Dragon Kingdom. Thick eyebrows, big eyes, darker skin color, deeper eyes, concave nose. Almost as soon as they rushed out of the car, Lin Xian appeared in front of a man. Click. He slashed the opponent's neck with his palm. Cut it off. At the same time, Lin Xian took away the opponent's submachine gun and raised his arms. The left-hand pistol was already pointed at another man. The submachine gun in his right hand was pointed at the sniper 200 meters away. One after the other, do 2 things at once, pull the trigger. Boom. Da-da-da. Another man was shot in the eye and his eyeball exploded. The bones in the back of the skull were shattered and opened by bullets. The rooftop of the building 200 meters away. The sniper didn't have time to fire a second shot. The sniper scope exploded. The palm of my hand that pulled the trigger shattered. His forehead also burst into blood instantly. None of the 3 bullets missed, and all hit. The sniper's body also fell on the rooftop. Lin Xian then put down his guns and looked at the large truck. A man with a gun is seen jumping out of the van. Before the other party could figure out the situation. As soon as his eyes flashed, a tall figure appeared in front of him. Snapped. The man's neck was held by a hand like a vice. He lifted him up casually and slammed him to the ground. Bang, the man's body was slapped to the ground hard and he passed out. After catching a victim alive, Lin Xian instantly turned his head and looked away. More than 500 meters away, on a city overpass. I saw a man holding a telescope. A minute ago. A thin man was looking at the road more than 500 meters away. Through the binoculars, the sight is locked on a police car. There was a cold and contemptuous smile on the man's face. His eyes were cold. It is the kind of indifference that has long ignored life after many battles. As a mercenary, ordinary police officers are just ants in his eyes. It's too easy to kill them. And now he's doing it. Let's start. The man pressed the wireless headset in his ear and gave the order. Then wait quietly for the police car to be destroyed. I want to see with my own eyes the tragic death of 2 police officers. But the killings that followed took place in just 10 seconds. Subverting his thinking, the man froze in place like a statue. He saw with his own eyes that Lin Xian jumped out of the car with Guo Su. I saw Lin Xian using it in less than 10 seconds. Kill 5 of his team members and knock 1 out. But these are not the scariest things. The pupils of the man's eyes instantly shrank into needle-like shapes. A kind of creepiness suddenly arose in my heart. Because right now, Lin Xian, who was in the telescope's perspective, turned his head and looked at him. What happened? The man on the overpass opened his eyes wide and turned pale with horror. Why do you feel this way? Do you think he is looking at you? At this time, the distance between the two was more than 500 meters. How could that terrifying Dragon Country youth find him? No, he was looking at him. Facing Lin Xian's eyes, the man's back felt cold. A strange feeling arose again in his heart. He seemed to be stared at by a terrifying creature. The man's perception was also madly warning, run. Without any hesitation, the man, who was sweating all over, turned quickly and rushed to the car on the overpass behind him. After getting in the car, he stepped on the accelerator and sped along the overpass. Rushed down the overpass and rushed to the road. The man was sure that he was discovered. And the other party was a policeman, and his car would be locked soon. But when the man came, he had already thought of an escape route in advance in case of an accident. About 25 minutes. The car driven by the man rushed to a zoo. City, Northern Forest Zoo. Stopped the car quickly. The man ran fast and then appeared in an empty place. Climbed over the high wall and jumped into the zoo. He didn't dare to stop and continued to run. It took about 16 or 17 minutes. The panting man ran into the forest in the zoo. He used his last bit of strength to climb up a big tree and hid in the tree. In the canopy, the man took out the water and compressed biscuits he had prepared in advance. He wanted to replenish his energy while resting and preparing for the next round of escape. But, about 2 minutes later, suddenly, the man's expression froze. He heard a slight, familiar sound. It was the rustling sound of feet stepping on the grass. When the shocked man stiffened his neck and turned inch by inch. When he looked at the place about 20 meters away, the blood color disappeared from his face completely. He stared with his eyes wide open with a pale face. He saw a tall figure. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 198. The pupils of the man's eyes were shrinking crazily. Even his heart was beating uncontrollably. Because the person he saw was Lin Xian. Watch him walking towards you step by step. It felt that Lin Xian was on alert. The scariest. The man sensed a murderous aura in Lin Xian's body that was about to solidify. The man's breath caught. The body is also like a statue, integrated with the tree. Even slowly closed his eyes. Because men know it. Some people have a terrible sixth sense. When someone with evil intentions stares at this kind of person, will be sensed immediately. For example, a truly powerful sniper will not aim at the target immediately. But after it is determined to kill, it will instantly lock on the target and snipe. The reason is to worry about being sensed by the target and avoid it in advance. If you don't want to be discovered by this kind of person, the best way is not to see him. But, is it really useful? Lin Xian walked step by step. A mocking sneer appeared on his lips. Sudden. He stopped under a big tree. Then he slowly raised his head and looked at the crown of the big tree. Are you playing peekaboo with me? A light word. But it made the face of the man in the tree turn as pale as paper. The eyes he opened were filled with endless fear and despair. The man knew he was finished. But he was unwilling to give in and immediately raised his hand. A pistol appeared in his hand. Because he knows. Even if Lin Xian can be shot to death, the gunshot will reveal his location. If you want to run away again, it's absolutely impossible. Unfortunately, the man thought too much. How could Lin Xian give him a chance to shoot? The moment the man drew his gun, Lin Xian's legs had already bent and bounced up quickly. Like a shooting arrow, it appeared on the tree. His hands have already grasped the branches, and his body is like lightning. Almost in the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the man. He held the man's hand holding the gun. Click. There were bone fractures in the man's palm. 5 fingers were broken and crushed. The sword suddenly appeared. In the man's other hand, a dagger appeared at some point. A silver light was drawn in the air and appeared under Lin Xian's neck. Unexpectedly, there is another white hand on the wrist holding the knife. Click. Broken, drooped. The dagger was held by Lin Xian. Puff. Insert it into the man's thigh. The severe pain made the man roll his eyes and lose strength instantly. But it's not over yet. When the man quickly recovered from the severe pain, Lin Xian swung the dagger in his hand 4 times. Cut the fascia under the armpits of both arms of the man. The main tendons behind the man's knees were also severed. The man's limbs were crippled. Finally, poof. The dagger was inserted into the man's thigh again. Ah! The man let out a heartbreaking scream. Puff. The sword flashed. The dagger penetrated the man's cheek. The blade was across the man's mouth. Doing this will not only prevent men from biting their tongues. Dentures can also prevent a man from hiding poison in his mouth. Lin Xian learned this method from Li Long. This special agent who retired from national security once told him, "It is difficult for national security to catch spy agents alive. They won't give you a chance to catch you alive. Are spy agents stupid? Don't you know what the consequences will be if you are caught? What kind of hellish torture and pain awaits them? Facing that terrible torture and pain, suicide is the best way." Li Long warned Lin Xian. As long as you see a living target, never give him a chance to commit suicide. Lin Xian looked at the man in front of him. My arms and legs are useless, and I can't even use my mouth. I really can't figure it out. What other possibility is there for this person in front of me to commit suicide? But the other party committed suicide in front of him. Even Lin Xian didn't see how he committed suicide for a while. Under his gaze, the man's face slowly turned livid and gradually turned dark gray. His body also began to twitch wildly, and white saliva flowed from his mouth. Not only was it painful, it seemed like I couldn't breathe, and my eyes began to turn white. Gradually, I stopped breathing. How to do it, Lin Xian couldn't figure it out. He had already guarded against any means of suicide by the other party. But the other party's appearance was obviously that he was poisoned and died of poisoning. Why is it poisoned? Soon, he found the key to the other party's suicide. A red spot with blood appeared on the man's chin. It was the mark of being stabbed by a needle-like object. As he continued to search, Lin Xian looked at the man's collar. Only then did I find a pin popping out of a button on the man's clothes. The tip of the needle is hollow, similar to an infusion needle. Very small and very short. But it's enough to pierce human skin. A little bit of purple liquid spilled out from the tip of the needle. This operation is too sexy, Lin Xian rolled his eyes. Died. Guo Su's words sounded under the big tree. His eyes were also fixed on the body. Lin Xian jumped off the tree with the body in his arms, feeling all kinds of MMP in his heart. Not from the Dragon Kingdom. Guo Su frowned and looked at the corpse carefully. He is very familiar with soldiers. Irregulars are equally familiar. The unit he used to belong to often performed special and secret missions. I have also dealt with some foreign armies, mercenaries, private armed forces, and illegal armed forces. After turning the body over a few times, he looked at the gun cocoons on the hands of the body. Mercenary. Guo Su's tone was very certain. I feel like they should be Jack's people. Remove the word feeling. Lin Xian nodded. 90% of the time he is his. This person's mentality is not right and he is petty. I ruined his face and he must take revenge. Apart from Jack, he really couldn't think of any other enemies in I City. Not to mention finding a group of mercenaries to assassinate him. Have you ever thought about such a problem? Guo Su looked solemn. Even if he hired mercenaries to take revenge on you, why did these mercenaries appear so quickly? Yes, Lin Xian's expression also changed. He disfigured Jack on the front foot, and the mercenaries appeared on the back foot to assassinate him. How could it be so fast? Don't make any excuses. Just give me a call and the mercenaries will appear in Dragon Kingdom as soon as possible to serve as your thugs. That's bullshit, it's a bloody movie. Do you really think that mercenary entry will be easy? Special professional soldiers like this want to go through normal channels. Maybe he will be targeted by Longwo's Kyoan immediately. Therefore, some mercenaries who want to enter certain countries almost always use illegal channels. There's only one possibility. Lin Xian sneered, these mercenaries came to the Dragon Kingdom with the Baron. If this guess is true, why did this Baron bring a team of mercenaries into the country? Does he want to do something, or does he want mercenaries to protect him? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 199. Did these mercenaries follow Jack Hassini into Dragon Country? Lin Xian and Guo Su could not be sure for the time being. However, they still had one person alive. Interrogation room. A man woke up from coma. The man was the one who participated in the assassination of Lin Xian. The man who jumped off the truck and was knocked unconscious by Lin Xian. When the man woke up, he found himself handcuffed to the interrogation chair. He saw Lin Xian standing in front of him. The man was pale and a layer of cold sweat oozed from his forehead. "Who are you?" Lin Xian asked coldly. The man kept silent. Guo Su walked over. Following closely, there were endless screams. 10 minutes later, the man confessed. Just as Lin Xian and Guo Su guessed. The other party was a mercenary. 10 days ago, a 14-member mercenary team carried weapons and entered Dragon Country by smuggling. The man was one of them. As for who hired them, the man didn't know, he was just an ordinary mercenary. Even 5 years ago, he was just an ordinary person. The captain ordered to attack Lin Xian. The captain asked the deputy captain to take 6 mercenaries to carry out the assassination. The deputy captain was the mercenary who committed suicide in the woods of the zoo. As for why these mercenaries knew that Lin Xian was in the hospital, and how they ambushed on the road in advance, the man knew nothing. Then, the man confessed the hiding place of the captain and other mercenaries. Lin Xian immediately took his team members and a team of special police to the location. Outskirts. An abandoned factory. Lin Xian ordered the team members to stay outside. Let the special police block the entire factory area. Then he rushed in alone. Because what he faced next was a group of mercenaries. A real killing machine. Even ordinary special police in the public security system. Facing armed mercenaries, there may be casualties. This is not what Lin Xian wants to see. The huge factory area seemed to be shrouded in the darkness of the night. The whole factory building looked eerie and silent. Lin Xian climbed over the wall and entered the yard. Sneaked silently in the dark. Approaching the target's large warehouse. 40 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters. Lin Xian's pupils suddenly shrank, and he felt an unspeakable danger. Suddenly, a ball of green fire, as big as a basketball, appeared out of thin air 10 meters away. In the dark night, the fire flickered, flashing a cold green light. Like a ghost fire in the underworld, eerie and terrifying, it made people shudder. Lin Xian's eyes suddenly widened, staring at the green fire. With his supervision, he found that it was actually a burning skull. Floating in the air without any external help. Faced with such a scene, Lin Xian got goosebumps instantly. Ghost. No, it's magic. However, just when Lin Xian's sight was attracted by the burning skull. Instant. His auditory system heard a bang in the air. It was as if a rope was tightened in an instant. When the sound appeared, Lin Xian once again had an indescribable sense of crisis. As his hair stood up, the world seemed to stop. Lin Xian twisted his body quickly like a gyroscope, spinning 360 degrees. He wanted to use his eyes to find the source of the sound and the crisis. Suddenly, he found that in the darkness, a thin silk thread appeared in front of him. It quickly hit his body. Lin Xian's face changed and his body bent quickly. He thought of a very sharp tool. Wire rope saw. This wire saw uses a thin steel wire to cut objects. It is even sharper than a normal steel saw. The human body will be dismembered instantly under this wire rope saw. At the same time, it also reminded Lin Xian of the autopsy of team member Lu Changjiang. I still remember that Lu Changjiang said that the victim's body was cut with a special knife. At that time, I only thought of water jets and lasers, but I didn't think of the wire rope saw in front of me. Suddenly, a thin steel wire flew over Lin Xian's head like lightning. It made him feel as if the air was torn apart. Using the skull ghost fire to attract people's attention. Then using the steel wire to kill people silently. So cruel, Lin Xian straightened his waist. If it weren't for his super strong sense of danger. If it were someone else, he might have been dismembered. When Lin Xian looked at the skull again. Suddenly, a chair appeared out of thin air in the darkness. Appeared under the green ghost fire skull. The skull was seen floating on the chair. It was like a ghost without a body sitting on it. Welcome to my world. A gloomy and terrifying voice that could not be distinguished between men and women sounded in the skull's open and closed mouth. Unfortunately, you will never see me. I'll see your mother. Lin Xian waved his arm. Bang. Outside the factory, Guo Su's finger pulled the trigger of the sniper rifle. A bullet shot at the skull. Something strange happened. The skull burning with green ghost fire was completely intact. Was the bullet empty? No, the bullet did not hit anything at all. It penetrated from the skull and hit the ground. Lin Xian's eyelids jumped when he saw this scene. It's useless, you can't kill me at all. The will-o'-the-wisp skull made a sinister taunt, on the contrary, it's you who is about to die. With its words. Sudden. A skeletal arm burning with green will-o'-the-wisp appeared out of thin air beside the skull. I saw this arm suddenly wave towards Lin Xian. A green will-o'-the-wisp formed a will-o'-the-wisp arrow in the air. Flying towards Lin Xian in an instant. A strong danger arises. What surprised Lin Xian was that the danger did not come from the flying will-o'-the-wisp arrow. Instead, it comes from his left and right sides, and from below. Why is this happening? Then normal people see the will-o'-the-wisp arrow flying towards them. What will be the reaction? Hide left, hide right, or crouch. This is how to avoid danger, right? But if you hide, what will happen? Are you playing psychology with your father? Lin Xian sneered. All of a sudden, his body jumped up like an onion on a dry land. When he jumped up, the will-o'-the-wisp arrows flew towards him. But Lin Xian didn't even look. But he looked to the left, right, and below where he was just now. I saw 3 black crossbow arrows flying past instantly. Suppose he just turned left, right, or squatted down. He will definitely be hit by a crossbow arrow. And the will-o'-the-wisp arrow also disappeared in front of him. Pretending to be a ghost. Lin Xian landed lightly. Is that all you have? It's really scary to use magic to kill people. But the problem is, your magic is scary. Can you kill a monster with super 5 senses, a sense of danger, and an abnormal body? Come on, let's hurt each other. Lin Xian is like a cheetah. Pounced on the skull. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 200. 10 meters away, it passed by in the blink of an eye. When Lin Xian appeared in front of the skull, he stretched out his hand to grab it. I caught nothing and only caught a ball of water mist and a beam of light. Lin Xian's mind was spinning. Mist. Projection. That mist should be special water mist. When the projection shines on it, it will form an image. Just like when he did an experiment and shined the projection on the glass, ghosting appeared. Lin Xian lowered his head. I saw that there was indeed a projection beam on the ground and a sprayer. But both of these things were covered by a piece of black cloth standing upright. The black cloth just blends into the night. You can't even see it from a distance. Only the fog in the air and the skeletons created by the projection can be seen. This is why the bullet penetrates the skull instantly. Ghost magic, a good trick. But when Lin Xian's legs just stepped on the ground. Sudden. The ground separates automatically. A secret door appears, leading underground. Lin Xian, whose body was falling, wanted to curse. The legs spread apart instantly, making a horizontal line. Bang! The body paused in the air, and the feet stepped on the wall of the passage. Lin Xian can jump up if he wants. But, do you really want to do this? He glanced at the dark bottom. Lin Xian retracted his legs and jumped down. Almost a breath away. Bang, his legs hit the ground. There was darkness before his eyes. With super strong vision, you can see that it is a huge underground space. Judging from the state of construction, it should be the basement of the original factory building. But it has long since been abandoned. Suddenly, 4 green will-o'-the-wisps lit up. They were 4 flaming pumpkin heads suspended in the air. Appeared in 4 directions, Lin Xian's front, back, left and right. The moment they appear, Lin Xian vaguely sensed danger. Because these 4 pumpkin heads are not ghosts, but entities. You can even vaguely see that there are 4 transparent ropes hanging them. The rope moves, flying towards Lin Xian with 4 will-o'-the-wisp pumpkin heads. During the flight, the will-o'-the-wisp pumpkin head will also spill some will-o'-the-wisp liquid. When the liquid dripped to the ground, white smoke and a pungent smell came out. The ground will erode. Wang Shui, Lin Xian's face changed drastically. Aquaregia, also known as royal acid, is very corrosive. Anyway, all police officers know that bad guys like to use this kind of thing to destroy corpses and eliminate traces. In an instant, Lin Xian rushed out fiercely. Like a cannonball flying close to the ground. Fight out the siege of 4 will-o'-the-wisp pumpkins. Turn around and raise your hand. Drawn his sidearm. Bang, 4 shots per second. 4 will-o'-the-wisp pumpkin heads exploded, and Lin Xian stood up. Sudden. There was a sneer in the distance. Lin Xian sprinted towards the source of the laughter as fast as lightning. When he just appeared where the laughter was. Bang. The originally dark underground space suddenly lit up with a dazzling light. Darkness clears and becomes day. Lin Xian stopped, narrowed his eyes, and was shocked to find out. There are countless selves appearing around. Because at this moment, countless mirrors appeared around him. Mirrors extend from the ground to the ceiling, densely packed. It's like a maze of mirrors. Through the reflection of the mirror, countless Lin Xian appeared in the mirror. Even the ceiling, floor, 360 degrees, are all mirrors. Lin Xian frowned and walked past a mirror in front of him. After discovering the mirror, it is still a mirror. The weird thing is, the ground beneath my feet began to spin. The mirror also moves at this moment. Normal people in this situation. Almost lost, unable to tell the way we came. Lin Xian sneered. Just because a normal person can't tell the direction doesn't mean he has a super sense of smell and super hearing. You can easily smell the body odor left in the air wherever you pass. You can also hear the sound of aquaregia corroding the ground in the distance. Possessing super 5 senses, the so-called maze wants to trick him. It's almost like a joke. For example, right now, behind him. A mirror quietly opened a gap. An arm holding a dagger slowly stretched out. Silently, he stabbed towards Lin Xian's lower back. Moment. Lin Xian grabbed the arm and grabbed another empty one. Because that arm is refracted through the mirror. The actual location is unknown. I don't know which mirror the arm stretched out from. This magic has a very nice name, kaleidoscope. It is also a famous masterpiece of a certain magic master with unique skills. And the name of this magic master, Tony Hassini, President of the International Association of Magicians. Unique skills are sometimes not necessarily unique. Right? Lin Xian sneered, Jack, is it really you? No one answered. Even the arm holding the dagger disappeared from the mirror maze. A green fireball suddenly appeared in the maze. And through the refraction and reflection of countless mirrors, countless fireballs seemed to appear throughout the maze. And all these fireballs flew towards Lin Xian. No matter how strong your eyesight is, it starts to get dazzling. How to hide? How to hide? Where to hide? Lin Xian closed his eyes and moved his ears. He heard a sound of breaking through the air from a certain direction. This sound was like someone holding a torch and waving it in the air. There would be a whoosh sound. Most of the magic was to deceive people's eyes and create illusions. In this case, Lin Xian simply did not use his eyes to see, but used his hearing to distinguish. With his super hearing, the fireball was found. His body flew back, avoiding the flying fireball. At this moment, a mirror split again, a window appeared, and a hand holding a dagger stretched out. If you look with your eyes, you can't tell which mirror this arm came from. But only use hearing to distinguish, when a window appears in the mirror, no matter how silent it is. There will be a slight friction sound. How can it escape Lin Xian's super hearing? Snap! Lin Xian's hand grasped the arm. Crack, crushed. Turn around and punch. Bang, a mirror exploded. Lin Xian's fist hit a man's chest. The chest was directly sunken. The whole fist was sunken into the chest cavity. Lin Xian looked at the person in front of him coldly. A white man. He had seen this man not long ago. He had once stopped him and Guo Su from entering a villa. Jack Hassini's bodyguard. The white man opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Lin Xian's punch not only broke his chest, it also broke his internal organs. The white man fell to the ground without saying a word. Suddenly, Lin Xian jumped over the white man's body and rushed into the passage behind the mirror. With a bang, he knocked open a door. Appeared in a huge room. Looking at a white youth with gauze on his face, Jack Hassini. Don't play those childish magic tricks with me anymore. Lin Xian stared into Jack's eyes. A fool like you will not be able to eat 4 dishes in your life.